So I got my nice shirt on. I got my best work clothes on today.
That's right.
You know, you're gonna burn them up with a welder and a 4.5-inch die grinder and sparks flying off of them. Burn them up till there's nothing left. So if he moves over here, you can see how I have that mark. I'm on this side. You can see where that mark is on that die that I was talking about. I have a center line on here. I have where it's going to get marked the next time. That's when things get a little bit more critical. Again, you'll come in here and you see I already have this set up to this line. You can just barely see that line in there. Don't know how good our guy is with video camera. One of the reasons I don't have a lot of video stuff that I do is because I don't have anybody here to video it a lot of times. Okay, so when I got that approximately the right place, I got to make sure this is all level in here, and that's where your angle finder comes in. You got this bend in here, and you want to know that and there's always some movement in your die, so you want to be pretty sure that you've got that on 0 in this case, because I want the two ends to come out where they belong. And that's where your 3/4 inch wrench and tightening that bolt up to keep that piece of tubing from moving, that's where that comes in. Now if you get real good using your bender and you become familiar with what you're doing, without using this, you can look at that piece of tubing and you can look over here at your die. You can see the curvature of your die. You can see the level of your die, and you can eyeball that, and you'll be darn near spot on every time. But you can finish using that angle finder if you want. Even though I put the angle finder on it, and I know what it says, because of that movement in that die, I've got to change this. There's always that chance that you're going to be off just a little bit, and in this case, that's what I am, is off. Just probably only amounts to 1 or 2 degrees on that angle finder, but by the time you get out here, that 1 or 2 degrees becomes pretty. Okay, he's got the camera on. You can kind of see what we're looking at. You can see the end of this coming around, and you can see this all lining up. There's actually another way here that I cheat on this bender. You see that building with that textured plywood with all those lines going up and down? If I have something that's straight up, I can stand back and look and I can line it up with those lines. I don't even need an angle finder. It'll be just perfect every time. So the more you use your bender, the better you get. Starts to get a little bit tougher.
.120 wall chrome alley. This is for the Alley Cat 2 axle.
Yep, Alley Cat axle. My buddy just got through doing 2 roll cages on Jeeps for the Arizona desert with this. Massive roll cages out of 1.5 inch 120 wall. You start pulling pretty darn hard on that. So this tubing bender's had a lot of use. Okay, that's where we're at.
Excellent.
This is a dedicated jig right here that I use, and you can see it's all steel, all welded in place, gives the right number of degrees. This is pretty common for a lot of carts to use this same number of degrees. You may change the caster, but the camber kingpin angle is set up to be the same on a lot of the older vintage rear engine carts. as is the width. In this case, I'm actually doing one that's more authentic alley cat. Those carts were pretty rare to have in a Survivor. There's a few of them around the country. To set this axle back, I took this jig, shoot it from there. Took this jig and actually got this axle sitting on a piece of 1-inch square tube there to get that set back. So if I was to make some other bug front end or something, it wouldn't have that piece of square tube underneath there. But bug would not have the 7 degrees in here either. They would have a 0 kingpin angle. Personally, if I was, and I did that on the 2 bug carts I made, I put the 7 degrees in there instead of the 0 kingpin angle because a bug cart will steer a lot heavier. They'll tend to wear, for me, they wear me out, wear my arm and shoulders out because they steer a lot harder with 0 kingpin. It was the same thing with my Myers. With 0 kingpin, I had so much front end bite that three laps and I'm done. If you make a little bit of a mistake and want to pull a few degrees out of that, this is how you would do that. You would come back out here and you would pull a little bit of that out of there. In this case, I want to pull a little bit out because this particular axle is a one-off axle. I've not made one before, and I pulled one pull too far. I want to pull half of that pull back out of there. You wouldn't think I'd pull much off of there like that, but you would be surprised how fast that comes out of there. Okay, I just finished the bend on a front axle. You can see my bend marks on here. Got the center mark, which tells us where we want this bent. You might notice I don't have a protractor on my tubing bender because I don't use one because I take it on and off all the time. If I'm going to use a protractor, it's going to always be bent and have to be reset. What I've done is I've marked every one of these notches with a number, and I can keep track of the numbers on how many poles of notches I use to make each bend. Makes it a lot simpler for me, where I have to remove this all the time. Here I've just finished bending the rear seat hoop on an alley cat. Just put the last bends in that. You want to get all your parts all bent up. After you have your main rails bent, get everything else collected. This actually goes pretty fast. I can bend up a couple of these in a morning without any problem. Then the hard part comes all the welding and fitting it together, but that's not that bad either. Alright, I just finished my last bend on a one-piece perimeter frame. It's not too easy to do. It takes a lot of practice.